He said it. He finally said it. The words that CM Punk swore on his career, on his pipe bomb legacy, on every single thing he ever stood for he would never say. And yet, there he was. Standing in the middle of that WrestleMania ring, under those lights, in front of 80,000 people, and he looked Roman Reigns dead in the eyes and acknowledged him. Drop everything you're doing right now because what you're about to hear is either the greatest storytelling WWE has ever produced, or the most humiliating burial of a returning legend in the history of professional wrestling. And I need you to tell me in the comments which one it is because this fanbase is split right down the middle. Segment 1: Setting the Stage. Let's rewind. Because to understand the earthquake that just happened at WrestleMania, you have to understand what was at stake for CM Punk walking into that match. CM Punk didn't come back to WWE to lose. Nobody does. But Punk especially. This was a man who walked out of WWE in 2014, spent years in MMA getting genuinely hurt, built an entire alternative identity outside of Vince McMahon's machine, and then came crawling, his words, not mine, back through that door. He came back to prove something, to finish something. He came back because the unfinished business with WWE was eating him alive, and the only way to kill the demon was to come back and slay it on the grandest stage of them all. And what was the crown jewel of that comeback? What was the final destination? It was this: WrestleMania, the World Heavyweight Championship, and Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, the undisputed needle mover, the man who single-handedly carried WWE television for over 4 years, standing across the ring from him as the final boss. This wasn't just a wrestling match. This was a statement match. This was supposed to be CM Punk's vindication, his redemption arc completed. The moment where the Second City Saint walks out with the gold and screams into the camera, "I told you so." But that's not what happened. Segment 2: The match itself. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That match was brutal. And I mean that in the best possible way. From the opening bell, Roman Reigns was not playing games. There was no slow burn, no feeling out process. Roman came in with the energy of a man who had something to prove, which is terrifying when you consider Roman Reigns has been proving himself every single week for years. He hit Punk early. He hit him often. And every time Punk tried to mount a comeback, every time the crowd surged with energy, every time Punk fired up and started throwing those leg kicks and going for the GTS, Roman shut it down. The near falls in that match were absolutely diabolical. There were at least 3 moments where I think every single person watching genuinely believed CM Punk was going to pull it off. That running knee in the corner. The GTS that Roman somehow kicked out of. The crowd absolutely lost their minds. The noise in that building was otherworldly. But every single time, Roman answered. Every single time, the tribal chief reached into that dark place and found another gear. The spear that ended the match? That wasn't just a finishing move. That was Roman Reigns telling CM Punk and telling the entire world that this is still his yard. 1, 2, 3, it was over. And CM Punk lay there on that mat, staring up at those WrestleMania lights, and you could see it on his face. Not just exhaustion. Something deeper. Something that looked a lot like reckoning. Segment 3: The Acknowledgement. Now here is where this gets absolutely insane. And this is the part I need every single one of you to stay locked in for, because what happened after that pinfall is being talked about everywhere right now, and people cannot agree on what it means. Roman's music hits. The bloodline floods the ring. Paul Heyman is weeping, genuinely weeping in the corner. The championship is raised. And then, Roman does something unexpected. Instead of celebrating and walking out, he turns around. He looks at CM Punk, who's barely able to sit up. He walks over. The crowd doesn't know what to do. They're half booing, half holding their breath. Roman crouches down, gets eye level with Punk. And in that moment, with the microphone right there, with the whole world watching, Roman doesn't taunt him. He doesn't trash talk. He says, quietly but loud enough for the mic to catch it, "Acknowledge me." And the silence that followed was the loudest thing I've ever heard in a wrestling arena. Because CM Punk, the man who has said Roman's character is a crutch, who has made it his personal mission to deconstruct every piece of WWE mythology, slowly, painfully, raised his head. The camera caught his eyes. There were no tears, but there was something there. Call it defeat. Call it respect. Call it the brutal honesty of a man who just got beaten clean, in the middle of the ring, at WrestleMania. And Punk nodded. He nodded, and then barely above a whisper but unmistakably clear he said it. "I acknowledge you." The arena exploded. Half the crowd erupted in cheers for Roman. The other half, the Punk faithful, were absolutely devastated. And sitting here watching it back, I still get chills. Because that 3-word sentence wasn't just a wrestling angle. That was a character reaching the end of his road and having the dignity, or maybe the humility, to admit it. Segment 4: What this means for Punk's career. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room that nobody wants to address but everybody is thinking about. Is this the end of CM Punk? Because Roman didn't just beat him. The story that was told in that ring was specifically designed to close a door. This wasn't a first chapter. This wasn't a Punk comes back even more motivated setup. The way that match was booked, the way the post-match acknowledgement was framed, that was a burial with a bow on it. A respectful burial, maybe. A meaningful one, but a burial nonetheless. And look, I love CM Punk. The guy is arguably the most compelling talker in the history of this industry. His 2011 pipe bomb is still being studied. His ability to blur the line between reality and fiction is unmatched. But what creative space does he occupy now? He came back. He got his Wrestlemania moment. He lost. He acknowledged Roman. Where does the story go from here? If WWE is smart, and sometimes, just sometimes, they turn this into something more. Maybe Punk doesn't disappear. Maybe this acknowledgement is the beginning of something darker. Maybe CM Punk, having been broken down to his absolute core, becomes something he always claimed he'd never be, a man who operates within the system rather than against it. The most compelling CM Punk story from here isn't a revenge arc, it's a corruption arc. It's watching the most anti-authority figure in wrestling history slowly become the very thing he spent his career fighting. That would be television. That would break the internet every single week. But if they just quietly move Punk down the card and pretend this didn't happen, then this acknowledgement moment will become one of the most infuriating chapters in his legacy. Segment 5: Roman Reigns' legacy after this. And let's not move past this without talking about what this does for Roman Reigns, because frankly Roman deserves his flowers. Roman Reigns has been the most polarizing figure in WWE for a decade. There was a time when fans were booing him out of buildings every single week. There was a time when Roman Reigns receiving main event pushes was a genuine cultural flashpoint for wrestling fans. People were furious. Memes, t-shirts, signs, and then something happened. Roman leaned into the heel character. He embraced the tribal chief. He found Paul Heyman. He slowed down. He became deliberate. He became dangerous. And slowly, gradually, like watching the tide change, Roman Reigns became not just accepted, but beloved as the greatest heel, and then greatest character, in WWE. And now, at WrestleMania, he has made CM Punk acknowledge him as the tribal chief and the champion. Do you understand the magnitude of that? CM Punk is not just any superstar. CM Punk is the guy who built his entire identity on refusing to play by the rules, on calling out the machine, on being the voice of the voiceless, meaning the fans who felt like WWE didn't listen to them, didn't respect them, didn't push who they wanted pushed. And Roman Reigns just broke him. That's not just a WrestleMania moment. That's a legacy-defining, career-cementing, Hall of Fame speech-worthy moment. Roman Reigns is not just the best of his generation anymore. After this, he's in the conversation for the greatest character in WWE history. Full stop. Closing the challenge to the audience. So here's where I leave you. And I genuinely want to know what you think. Drop it in the comments right now, because this conversation is happening whether we have it or not. Was the CM Punk acknowledgement the perfect end to his comeback story, a beautifully tragic close to a chapter that needed closing? Or was it a creative mistake that strips away everything that made Punk's return matter in the first place? Is Roman Reigns officially, undeniably, the greatest of his era, or does one WrestleMania main event, no matter how perfect, not move that needle for you? And most importantly, is CM Punk done? Or is the most dangerous version of Punk a broken, humiliated, acknowledged Punk still yet to come? Share this video. I mean it. Send it to every wrestling fan you know, because this debate is not over. This fandom is divided, and I need the numbers in those comments to reflect just how divided we are. Like the video if you think Roman Reigns has cemented himself as the greatest. Comment, "It's clobbering time," if you still believe in CM Punk.